Alright, well, welcome guys. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of psychology and how our minds can affect the, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, what interventions can we use in our everyday lives to kind of improve our physical state. So going into what we personally do, I like to journal, so writing out your thoughts, what's like on your mind that helps detach from what's going on around you. Do you tend to write, John?
I don't write, no. I have my own kind of daily practice that I use, but I don't journal.
Well, that's a good way to detach. What other ways do you learn to detach other than writing then?
So, two of the things that I do most are mantras. So the first thing, the mantra, is basically I have something I say to myself every day that kind of puts me in the right mindset.
Like an affirmation or a quote?
Kind of like an affirmation. I don't want to share what mine is personally, just because it's a private me thing.
Right.
But something positive that gets you in the right mood, that gets you in the right mindset to kind of take on the day.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think positive quotes can really benefit your mental status because you are the sum of your inputs, I like to say. So if you're continuously putting in things into your mind that are positive, then the outputs of your actions will improve. The quality will inevitably improve.
Yeah. And then the other thing is spirituality. So I consider myself somewhat of a Christian, not in the most traditional sense. Like I don't go to church every Sunday. I probably don't read scripture as much as I should. But what I do have is a support system, and I have found that when I am in some type of vulnerable way, I can share with trusted individuals about any difficulties that I'm having, and then we kind of talk about our religion and how we can use certain practices within our religion to take on those challenges. So I think spirituality, what it does is it, like you said, it kind of separates you from all the challenges in your life. And what was the word you used?
Detach, yeah.
It allows you to
step back,
analyze the problem, and then implement a plan to overcome that challenge. It's just a structured way to do that.
Yeah, and I think with religion comes community. So churches are incredibly supportive of people. If you don't have a social network and you do have a religious bent, one of our professors recommended that we direct patients to, priests, to the systems that have been serving us for not millions, but thousands of years. Churches and religious structures have been progressing society. And there's a reason they're still around, because they are helpful for a lot of people. So that's something to consider if you're feeling kind of lost or overwhelmed.
Yeah. And it has similar practices to other mindfulness practices that I've come about, like Stoicism. You practice Stoicism or Taoism or whatever it is.
What is Stoicism? Do you know? What's your definition?
So, to me, Stoicism, I don't know the exact definition.
What's your definition?
My definition is almost like resilience. It is dutyism, or that might not be the right word, but being dutiful. Instead of doing what is instantly gratifying, you do what's best for the long term. That's kind of what I think of.
Yeah,
when I think of Stoicism.
I think that's on the right line. I just Googled it, and Google's definition is the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint.
Yeah, so resiliency. And what you're doing is you're sacrificing short-term pleasure for a long-term benefit.
Yeah, I think that Stoicism for me is probably the thing I do most because I reflect over it. I'm also reading Marcus Aurelius, his meditations when he was Emperor of Rome in 2,000 years ago or whatever. He kind of lets you know that you can't control the events that are happening around you, but you can control what you do about it. So it kind of gives you the control back. So like you can't control everything, but you can control your emotions and your actions in your environment.
Yeah.
And that's powerful because many people feel helpless, and that gives you purpose, and it's a lens to empower you.
Yeah, it like lets you take a step back from your first initial reaction to whatever the situation might be. It gives you a system to like, okay, this happened, this is how I reacted, but this is how I should react, kind of thing. I like it.
Yeah, so that's kind of maybe some woo-woo stuff, but there's also physiological interventions that we can do to lower our heart rate, and our blood pressure. So it can like lower our sympathetic nervous system, our autonomic arousal. And I think lengthening your breath rate, so like the duration of your breath, and so instead of going from 10 breaths per minute, which I think is pretty normal, to 5 breaths per minute has been shown to...
It's really slow.
Yeah, exactly. It's been shown to improve your parasympathetic nervous system activation, so it just calms you down. So that's, smelling the coffee and then blowing out the candles through your mouth. And when you do that, you should be focusing on bringing the breath, the air into your stomach and expanding your... Yes.
It's called diaphragmatic breathing.
Yeah. So if you're feeling tight and you're hunched over and you have rounded shoulders and forward head and you look like a banana kind of, it's going to be hard to breathe through your stomach. So getting correct posture and then making sure the motion when you breathe is coming from your stomach, that can help your physiology relax.
That brings me to like another powerful intervention for cognitive behavioral therapy is meditation. So meditation utilizes diaphragmatic breathing and posture in order to kind of reset, because you're trying to only focus on nothing. I don't practice it every day, but when I do feel incredibly stressed out, sometimes I get little reminders like, hey, slow down, and then I'll just like open up YouTube or something and type in meditation. There's like a 10-minute guided meditation, and then after 10 minutes I feel much better.
Interesting. My perception of meditation was that you are letting thoughts come to you, but then like you accept their connotation. So like say your father died or whatever, that thought is, it's heavy, but you realize that that's a fact, and then you detach it from your mind. Say, I accept that fact, and then you clear your mind of that burden.
Maybe. I mean, there might be a bunch of different types of meditation.
I'm not a practitioner.
Yeah, I'm not either. So
that is my interpretation.
Really, whenever I get on those meditations, like, they're telling you to be present. So, not just... You might have thoughts that come to you, like, whether or not you accept them or not. I'm not sure how that whole process works, but being present in the moment, I think, is a huge mindset to have whenever you're trying to practice cognitive behavioral therapy.
I think being present can also be done in interventions that are not meditation.
Right. Yeah.
So like, it's called the flow state, which many people have heard about probably, but it's what you do when you do it. You feel like that fire, that passion. You lose track of time. That's being present. So that could be like chopping wood, or it could be going on a run, it could be like exercising, it could be going to work. If you're truly passionate about what you do, you kind of lose track of time. That your time is being used up by the muse, right?
Right. And I think that's the certain element that all cognitive behavioral therapies have, is being present. You're not just dissociating from whatever the problem might be. You're actually trying to do something positive to combat whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, how do you practice being present present. So what are the interventions that you put in place in your own calendar, your own habits every day?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went over those too, but I think the one that I do every day is the mantras.
The mantras.
Yeah, I look in the mirror, and, like, I have a certain saying that I say that kind of gets me.
This station is.
It helps me, like,
DFW
view any problems or challenges that I'm
Please look
having,
around and make certain
and
that
then
you've gathered all your
realizing
personal
that I'm
belongings
capable
before
of
exiting the train.
combating those challenges.
So it's giving you the power
Mm-hmm.
to have an effect on the things that are going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else is there? I think it's also important to state, like, education would be a big part of pain, but we'll touch on that a little bit. Educating how we feel pain. So, like, understanding the nervous system and pain can also not necessarily be a damaging thing.
Yeah.
It can just be an irregularity of your mechanics.
Yeah. Well, we had the podcast about pain. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go see that one. 'Cause
Yeah.
That was a good informative one. But these interventions can be used to help combat that kind of pain that you're talking about, where it might not be some type of tissue irritation. It might just be
Like an
some
emotional
sort of
pain.
emotional response to some sort of stimulus.
Yeah. I think really related to this is depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So feeling kind of overwhelmed by everything that's going on. And I think it's important. I think Marcus Aurelius says, like, it's okay to, like, you should be spending the same amount of time caring about things in relation to their importance. So if someone says, I hate you, or you're ugly, but you don't really know that person, or, like, they're a stranger on the street, you should give that the same amount of care as it matters, because you don't know that person, they don't matter.
Right.
So you should be giving that person the same amount of time and attention as they deserve, which
Yeah.
is nothing. So letting things go that don't matter is huge, because it simplifies your life. You're not thinking about what everyone thinks about you. You're thinking about your main thing. What are you passionate about? What are your goals? What are
Yeah.
you driven to do?
I like that. I think it can even be harder, though, to, like, if you have loved ones that might say things that you don't necessarily agree with, or if they, insult you without meaning to, or whatever the case may be. It might even be harder to implement that with loved ones. So how would you go about that?
If a loved person tells you, like, they hate you,
Or insult you?
insults you,
Yeah.
I think communicating immediately, not like beating around the bush, but I think we talked about, like, 20 minutes, like giving it 20 minutes, then coming back and say, hey, like, getting close to that person, or, like, telling them you're serious and, like, I really don't appreciate that. But also, if they do it once, let it go.
Yeah.
If they do it twice, let it go. If it happens 3 times, then you can say, hey, this has happened this time, and this time. I'm not crazy. If you don't stop this, I'm cutting you out of my life. Because focus on the positive elements of your life. And if someone is being an impediment to your life, why are you allowing that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on the positive elements of your family, and then really communicating the fact that you're not going to tolerate people who are trying to bring you down, because we only have one life, and why would you settle for anything less?
It's a strong mindset. Yeah. I mean, it can be hard when, like, a loved one says something. I think we're getting a little off track with that, but I like where your head's at. Actually having some kind of response in case something is challenging with family members. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's a good strategy, because you're not just, like, going purely off of emotion, because some people have bad days. That's
Right.
normal. Like, but if it happens
If it's like a normal
repetitively,
thing,
then you gotta stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important to be a self-advocate, because many people feel powerless when really we live in a time and a place that you can do anything you want to be.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to settle for not having quality psychological help.
Yeah. I like it.
And this is unrelated, but we were talking about mindfulness related to lifestyle interventions. Like non-sleep deep rest is what I use, which is kind of like a meditation. Essentially, I just lay down on my bed for 15 minutes. I close my eyes. I return my breath to my belly. I do diaphragmatic breathing for 15 minutes. And I clear my mind.
It's actually a long time.
It's a nap.
Oh, okay.
It's a non-sleep deep rest. And I think Andrew Huberman put me onto this.
Oh, I guess.
But basically, it's like you're lubricating your eyeballs and you're returning yourself to your breath. And then when you come out of that, you're like, I always feel energized after I do that. 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where I heard this, but apparently 20 minutes of some type of guided, like, deep meditation is the equivalent of, like, 2 to 3 hours of sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how true that is.
In terms of how
Sounds too
productive
good to
you
be
are
true.
after the
Yeah.
interview. Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's the Pareto principle, which I've been obsessed with recently. It's basically like 20% intervention gets you 80% result.
Yeah.
So if you apply that non-sleep deep rest, if you do it for 10 minutes, or you meditate for 10 minutes, you write for 10 minutes, you're going to get most of the benefit of the mindfulness training.
Yeah. I think it was a monk. A monk wouldn't sleep. He would just meditate for 20 minutes at a time.
Well, I'm not endorsing that.
It's very anecdotal, so don't do that. That's not a therapy we're recommending. But the mindfulness of meditation, we are recommending that.
Well, Mr. John, do you have anything else to say to our lovely audience?
We're always going to face challenges. There's always going to be depressing moments. There's always going to be anxious moments. I think the more you can get good at practicing these kinds of things and incorporating them into your daily life, the stronger impact they're going to have on those challenges that you see.
But the
I say
reps
challenges a lot, but that's because I have a lot of challenges.
That's all right.
No.
Get 1% every day. Put the reps in.
Yeah.
I think this can be applied like in the autonomic, cognitive, and the stages of learning. So once you first start doing something, it's going to feel like a hard lift. So when you first start going to the gym, you're like, I don't know what to do. And then you build the systems and the habits, and then it becomes autonomous.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
Non-sleep deep rest, check. Writing, check. Reading, check. Affirmations, check. And after a while, it just becomes easy. You don't have to think about it. So try those interventions out and let us know if you find them beneficial. Y'all have a good day. Peace.
Have a good one.